great and they did everything that they were supposed to. Now it's time for me to share my invention with them. What do I do? How do I feel comfortable? These inventors are telling me that they're fearing that there's an overseas company, since they're not protected outside of the U.S., that their fear of them ripping them off or copying them.
Yeah. Well, so first, I think the inventor should always have the patent in the U.S., right, to protect yourself. But I don't have a bulletproof solution. But when I talk to a lot of inventor users, most of them will say, if you, let's say, manufacture in China, it's actually not that hard or that expensive. It's not that expensive to get a patent done in Hong Kong, which covers the Greater China region. And usually you will pretty good protected. Obviously, you have it done through, the best to work through a lawyer. So to get that basic protection done first. So I guess it's definitely a good investment. And then I think it's best when you tell them that your invention is patent, and they would understand, okay, what they are getting into. And I think if you have done enough due diligence to find a sort of comfortable suppliers that you want to work with, a lot of them, yeah, there's always a few people want to steal your idea, but at the same time, if you look at, they are manufacturer, the strength is to manufacture, and it's not actually to sell. Sometimes they don't know how to sell. They just want to manufacture for you. So I guess get your patent done, and also I guess you just need to take the leap of faith, because it's not just in overseas. Sometimes in U.S., I've seen cases where inventors actually get dinged in the U.S. People stole the idea in the U.S. as well, right? If they don't do their homework. So so those are basically the situation where what would happen. Now, another thing that I have heard, and some people share with me, is some inventors actually they will break the design into multiple parts to source if they could. So, for example, they may find company A to manufacture the first part, and then company B to manufacture the second or third part, and then finally put together. So at least they don't get your full design. They only got your partial design, right? So that may be another way to do it.
Yeah, but the only thing with that is that once you want to put it all together, it's going to cost you more to ship it to one place and then kind of put together. So, but it is a way to protect your idea. I mean, Michael, I have products, and most of them are just here protected in the U.S. And, I feel like when you're talking to the manufacturers and you start working with them, it's really about respect. I know there's only so much that you can control, but if you don't take the chance, sometimes you just don't move. You're not able to move forward. So maybe I give a little bit more, but I just feel like people should have that kind of respect. And if they end up doing something over there, at least you know that you're protected here, so nobody can bring your product back into the U.S. without you. If something does happen overseas, there's only so much you could do anyway. Even if you have patents in all these different countries, you still have to protect it. So it's something that an inventor needs to figure out. Now, I put my money more towards the manufacturing and the tooling and so forth than my intellectual property internationally. But that's just my opinion. There's some people that choose to do international. A lot of big companies do international, worldwide patents because their products are sold all over the world. But it's really up to the inventor to make that decision, right?
That's right. And you're definitely one great example. And I can actually quote you a different example, a real customer that we recently talked to. This company is called Abington Watch. So the founder is actually a female pilot. She basically she found an opportunity because she noticed that there are not too many female aviation watch, and she would like to create a line for herself. So she actually did, and she spent approximately 6 months on Alibaba finding different vendors or different manufacturers, and she finally narrowed down to a couple, and then located in 3 countries what are well known of making watches. One is Hong Kong, one is Japan, and one is Switzerland. And she was very worried about reviewing too much information to the manufacturer in the beginning. But I guess in this 6 months, she really developed a good relationship, and she found a company that she can really trust. And like you said, she just took the risk and she took it to them. And what's interesting is finally what she found out is this company not only did not steal the idea, but also they become the advisor or the consultant to help her professionalize her design. Because these companies are, they have experience. They probably produce similar items for other companies, so they know all the in and out, how to make it more cost effective, or how to make it better. So there are just a lot of companies that are very serious in doing business and not just trying to steal the idea.
Sure, and actually, one of our listeners, Tammy P, she wanted me to ask you about what can we do as an inventor with a patent to slow down the knockoffs? What's the procedure, and who should they contact?
Does it mean like when someone stole or infringe her trademark or something like that?
Yeah, let's say she has a product and all of a sudden she sees it posted on Alibaba.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so we have a tool or process that's called Audit Protect. So when you found something like this, you basically first thing you should do is submit a complaint against that company, and then obviously you need to have all the evidence that's showing that you are the owner of the patent or the trademark. So the complaint will actually go to the investigation team, who will contact you to gather your evidence. And then basically they will go through the investigation. They will they will ask us the evidence from the other side. And once we found that company did infringe her patent or trademark, they will be taken down and they will ban forever.
Okay, that's great, and I hope that helps, Tammy. But the thing is that what if it's not protected outside of the U.S. and they're in another country? Do you still force them to take it down?
We will try our best because we are not law enforcement, right? And then we definitely not in the legal business. But we would work with the owner of the product, and then we will, be the arbitrator. We will show, hey, look, this company or this inventor does own it. You shouldn't list it. We'll try to force the other side who trying to take it down. And I actually heard from a company that called Slice. They make safety knives, and you can go to, I think, slice.com to find a product. The owner actually experienced similar thing. He had patent in the U.S., but he found someone selling his product elsewhere. What he did was, he sent email to or contact the other party and show that, look, I have the patent of this product. If you don't take it down, I will take action. And most of the time, the other people, if they know they don't have the patent, usually they will back down.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Here's another question from another listener, Chris. He wants to know if he could see feedback from previous customers on a company's service on your website. So let's say other people who have used or companies that have used one of your suppliers or your manufacturers or your trading companies, how come you don't have any feedback that people can leave and rate them so future people could see it?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a rating system or review system, right?
Yep.
Yeah, good question. Here's the reason why. Alibaba.com is a B2B service, and if you look at it, a lot of the transaction doesn't happen online. I mean, right now you find suppliers, but actually when you go through the actual order, it's a lot of times it's happened offline. So when there's no transaction happen, it's very hard for us to provide a rating environment to know whether A, whether the transaction happened, or B, how do we verify the reviews, right? So that's reason number one. And two is that it's got to be fair for both seller and buyer to rate each other. And right now, we actually had at one time we rolled out a review system for buyer to rate sellers. Unfortunately, what we experienced is because there was no transaction happen, anyone can just go online and find a supplier and leave any comments. And we found some interesting behavior is the competition among suppliers, and they basically just randomly try to trash each other. So it's created a very negative environment for us. So we basically took it down. Now we are working towards we're actually trying to add more service and try to bring those transactions, or at least we're trying to get more understanding or get more knowledge about the transaction. So once we have those knowledge, I think the next step will be basically to put up a review system.
Thank you for answering that for our listener, Chris. And Chris, by the way, I know that you're an avid listener to the show. Listen, it all comes down to doing your research. What would you do if there's no rating on the website? I would, when I speak to the manufacturer or the trading company, I say, who else do you do business with that I can call, just so I can have peace of mind to know that you do a great job for them?
Yeah. Oh, and also, sorry, one thing to add is you were right that actually we have a forum. We found a lot of users actually go to forum and then just simple ask other user, have you ever worked with this company? And you will get you usually will get some feedback.
Okay, as long as it's not the manufacturer responding for themselves.
That's right, yeah. So, yeah, you should pay attention. And also, we encourage users, go out, even when you found somebody, go to BBB or go to, the Google search and to see if you see any other comments about this. And nowadays, more and more companies that they probably will list on our social networks, such as LinkedIn. They may have a profile. You may want to just use third-party resource to vet their suppliers.
Okay. Now back to going through the process. So we found out what the minimum order quantity was, the FOB of where it's being shipped from. So now we gave them our information to make up the tooling and so forth. How does the payments work? How do you pay? And what sort of expectations are there with factories? I know everybody's different, but maybe you have some general idea to answer some of the inventors' questions.
Yeah, well, there are so many different ways. It depends on the negotiation between, the inventors and the manufacturers. The typical scenarios are, the manufacturer may ask for the upfront cost to put for the tooling, but they would say, okay, if eventually you'll put the order, they will credit back. That's something that I've seen. Now, when it comes to order, I think the most common, payment service is just to wire the money to the other side. But be careful of that. I mean, because send the money through wire, essentially, there's not traceable. But anyone get the money will take the money and get out anytime. So just be careful that you know enough about this party before you send the money, and also don't pay 100% upfront. We always encourage people to put deposit, 30%, 50%, and then when you receive the goods, and then pay the remaining balance, or break it down by milestone. If they done this, you've seen this, you check that, and then you pay certain percentage until you receive the final product. So that's a more typical thing that we've seen people doing offline. Now on our side, we actually offer a tool that hopefully help protect both buyer and seller. It's called Escrow Service, because we understand buyer or inventors, they don't want to pay until they receive the final product, but the seller, they probably don't want to ship or do anything until they receive the money. Right. So we act as a middleman. We try to solve this chicken and egg question that by offering this escrow service. Essentially, it's like buying a house. So the buyer or the inventor can put through an order through this escrow service. Then they, instead of paying the seller or the manufacturer directly, they would deposit the money into the escrow account. And then we will notify the manufacturer that the money is in the escrow account so that they can start producing or they can ship the product. Once that product is shipped, and then once the buyer receives the merchandise and check everything looks good, they satisfied, then they can confirm and let us know to release the money.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that you did that. Does the manufacturer or the trading company get annoyed that we use that kind of service? Does it cost them more of a premium? And does Alibaba have to get paid for that?
So I think because that kind of slowed down the cash flow. Definitely not every company like the escrow, but again, this is another filter, right? You would work with someone who's willing to be flexible and who has a good and strong